Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for attending the talk. And if you say no, please sit down, be humble. I might have a solution for you. Oops, what did I do now? Okay, so my talk will be on assessing and documenting the cultural use of sun gazers by traditional healers within the species distribution range. As we all know, with the ongoing human population growth, we tend to compete for space with biodiversity, and that often results in habitat loss. For example, for humans, we mine habitats, we use them for crop monoculture and urban development. Also, with this human population growth, wildlife trade for traditional medicine has increased because the number of healers also are increasing. Wildlife is being used in traditional medicine to treat various ailments. It's also used to attain good fortune, as like winning the lottery. It's also used to improve relationships. Once more, with also this human population growth, the international pet trade also seems to be increasing because more and more people seem to grow interest in keeping wildlife as pets. So just a little background on the sun gazer, the cousin of the dragon. It's a smoke giganteus, that's the scientific name, formerly known as Cordylus giganteus. Belongs to the family Cordalidae. This family is a monophyletic group composed of more than 50 species arranged in 4 genera. This is just the different common names in various languages in South Africa. The English one obviously being the sun gazer, in Afrikaans Ofok, in isiZulu Imbele, then Kasisuthu Patakalle. The species is endemic to the high-field grassland of South Africa, occurring on undulating grasses dominated by Thermida grasses, Thermida tiandra grasses. It is listed as vulnerable in the IUCN Red List under the criteria A to C. Currently, the area of occupancy is less than 1,150 square kilometers, and at least 40% of the suitable habitat has been transformed for crop monoculture, mining, and development. Over the past 37 years, the population has been estimated to have declined by over 30%. The species is listed under CITES Appendix 2. What does that mean? So it means if anyone wants to trade in the species, they need to have an export permit of the species, and also prove that the trade in the species is not detrimental to the survival of the wild population. But that's not the case with the sun gazer. As recently as 2015, the scientific authority conducted a non-detrimental finding which came out as negative for the sun gazer, which means trade in the species is detrimental to the wild population. Therefore, for anyone to export or trade in the species, they need to prove captive breeding. To date, there's no one that has provided such proof or scientific-based evidence. However, the gentleman by Bert Langewerf alleges that he successfully bred the species back in the 90s. Unfortunately, he has passed on, so he cannot come and account for his allegations. On a more local tip, the species is listed on the threatened or protected species list as vulnerable, meaning no one can possess the species, keep, pluck, kill, sell, trade. You can't do anything. Those are the restricted activities on the species. What is the problem? Currently, the extent and the impact of the traditional medicine trade in sun gazers is poorly known. The uses and the treatment of both spiritual and medical ailments of the sun gazer by healers and traditional medicine consumers is vague, and it has not been formally recorded. The objectives were to determine the extent of the use of sun gazers harvested from wild populations to be used in traditional cultural practices, such as prescription for traditional medicine or traditional remedies for a cultural or spiritual event, and also to estimate the natural offtake and impact of this trade on the natural remaining populations of sun gazers in the distribution range. Sure, the methods, they were very, very tedious. So we had to conduct interviews with traditional healers where we use semi-structured questionnaires. So now the trick here is, instead of just going to a traditional medicine market and finding healers and talking to them, you actively have to search them and find them in their homes and ask them if you can interview them. So what's hard about that is that some healers put flagpoles on their gates to indicate that there's a healer there. But now, if there's no flagpole, you need to ask the local people. And more often than not, people will think we probably want to bewitch someone, and hence we're asking for traditional healers. But we did manage to find some healers. And also some work that needs to be done still is to survey the traditional markets in Free State, KwaZulu-Natal, and Gauteng. The study was focused in the species distribution range, which is the Mpumalanga and the Free State provinces. As I've just mentioned, also still need to do traditional medicine markets. We interviewed with my assistants as traditional healers in 20 towns in the species distribution range. I'm not sure if you guys can see properly, but I've managed to map each and every household that I've been to. That's on the GIS, I mean. So yeah, that's the map that shows where I've been. These are preliminary results as the study is still ongoing. 150 healers were approached. However, only 81 agreed to participate in the interview. Of those that agreed to do the interview, 56% were females, 44% were males. Now, the age range. We interviewed, as you can see on the graph, people ranging from age 15 to age above 50. And I'm sure one would wonder, is there a healer that's 15 years old? Yes, there is. We once met a Gogo who started practicing traditional medicine at the age of 7. So what's interesting for me on this graph is that if you notice, I've interviewed a lot more females in the age group between 41 to above 60. And what my take-home message from this graph is that the information we got from these ladies is more reliable because it shows that it's people that have been dealing or been working with the species for a long time and know the species very well. But I'm just concerned with the lack of representation of males in this part. I guess males just don't live that long. Now, when it comes to knowledge, 23% of the healers interviewed said they don't know any laws that are protecting wildlife. 77% said, yes, we know the laws. However, to them, knowing the laws is different from what we understand. When a traditional healer says they know the law, they basically mean if they have a permit that they are a traditional healer, they can essentially go out and dig medicine. But they do not know that there's laws such as CITES and TOPS that regulate certain species, and there's certain restricted activities that cannot be done with the species. So to me, they know the laws according to collecting plants, traditional medicine plants, but also they don't know about certain traditional medicine plants that are protected according to TOPS. So that's also a really big problem. Now, on the uses, so single people, please keep your ears up. As you can see, the sun gazer is mostly used as a remedy for love potion. And this is derived mostly from the behavior of the species. All the healers that I've interviewed, when I say to them, why do you use it for love potion? And they'll say, you'll never find a sun gazer alone. Sun gazers are always in pairs. So, and for them to prepare that medicine, you have to use a male and a female, which is crushed into powder, and you combine both of them and use it on married couples. Yes, it's not just for everyone, you need to be married. So that love potion ensures that your spouse will not leave you or cheat you. So it essentially creates a bond for life between married people. And then it's also used for protection, which is also a wide range of uses. It can be protection from lightning, protection from evil spirits, protection from someone's cattle from being stolen. It's also used as a unifier. For example, if you use it on your cattle and someone wants to steal one goat, then all the goats will follow. They will never leave that. So you essentially steal the whole herd of cattle instead of just taking one. And then medical ailments, as you can see, is not represented that well. There are a few, but the next slide will represent that more in detail. So I've used a word cloud to try and represent this. So with how word cloud works is that the more frequent the word comes up, the bigger it is. And the less it comes up, the smaller it is. As you can see, love potion is just popping out, which shows that a lot of healers did say they use sun gazers for love potion remedies. It's also used for protection, quite big. Medical ailments, you can see there. Prevention of storms, and so forth. Oh, it's also they believe that it's used to essentially make someone clean. Cleanly, like it promotes cleanliness, because if you go to a sun gazer barrel, you'll never find any dirt there. It's always cleaning. And therefore, if someone is clumsy and untidy and dirty, use the sun gazer, they'll clean for the rest of their life. Okay, so these are some of the pictures I've took from the healers. I'd often ask them, so do you have the sun gazer that you can show me? And they'll take it out, and I'll take pictures. So how it's prepared is they skin it, get rid of the intestines, take the fat, put it in a bottle, then dry the skin. Once the skin is dried, it's then crushed into powder. Both male and female need to be mixed in that powder, which will then be used in love potion remedies and other uses, of course. What's more interesting is what I found recently. I went to this other gogo, and she showed me this soap. And I was like, Gogo, what do you use the soap for? She's like, this soap is made out of sun gazer. If I bath with it, when I walk into a place, everyone wants to kiss me and hug me. So it essentially makes you lovable and more appealing to people. But it's a serious concern for the species, because now I'm seeing a new market emerging. If really these soaps are being made, how many sun gazers would they, or whoever is making the soaps is obviously going to harvest more to create more of the soap. So there's a whole different market that's coming up on top of traditional medicine, on top of pet trade. Now we've got cosmetics. Something to think about. So this table just shows the sun gazer body parts that are used and the prescribed ailments. I just want to highlight something. If you look here, legs are used in HIV positive patients, and they help in epileptic seizures, but they're not used for love potion, because legs, you use your legs to walk away. So that's not something that will unify you with your spouse. The blood and heart are also not used to make love potion. And then 42 traditional healers said they use the whole animal. They'll prefer the animal be brought to them live, and they kill it themselves. And then 22 of them use fats. However, most traditional healers do not like buying sun gazer fat from a muti shop, because they're not sure if the fat is really from a sun gazer or from a kudu or something else. So most of the time they're reluctant to buy. If they have to, they'll go buy it, but with a bit of doubt. On this graph, I was trying to look at the number of sun gazers bought or collected by traditional healers per annum. Obviously, if we ignore the first one who said they don't use, so I've interviewed 81, 24 said they don't use the animal. So that remains with 57. So of the 57, I came up with that I could work out that they use 442 sun gazers per year, just the 57. So what's important, this is just a small sample of traditional healers. So what's important, it would be for us to try and work out the number of traditional healers within the Free State and see how much that value would change by. And I'm sure the impact will be massive. So I've learned from the healers that most hunters are school learners, and they sell them sun gazers to them for 50 Rand to 100 Rand. 50 Rand for a juvenile, 100 Rand for an adult. However, one Gokos told me that the market now, even older people are starting to collect sun gazers, and those are the ones that are much more expensive. Now they're selling them for 1,000 Rand a pair. Yes, and I also see a pattern. They're more expensive in the more urbanized towns of Free State, whereas in the more, like Welkom, there's hardly any sun gazers there. That's where they're more expensive. But if you go to Meermel, Honest Delstras, there's like more of that grasslands where you can find the species. It's much more cheap there. So to conclude, harvest for traditional medicine use is a compounding factor to the threat that the species is facing. We need to quantify the impact of the trade using the current population size estimates. And also we need to address the healers' claims that they know about legislation, because they clearly don't. And therefore I'd like to recommend that to address the school children from collecting sun gazers or deter them from collecting, ongoing outreach programs for school children are important. And I'd like to say that EWT has already started with that program, where we've come up with questionnaires and we'll give them to school kids just to fill out. And also target training focused on environmental legislation with traditional healers organization is very important. Thank you very much.